Today's sponsor is Audible.com, who has more than 180 audiobooks and spoken word audio products. Get a free audiobook of your choice at www.audibletrial.com/CA Telecast. This month, we're recommending Star Wars The Force Awakens by Alan Dean Foster. This is the official novelization of The Force Awakens, so if you can't get enough of the movie, now you can hear more about Rey, Finn, and Poe, and I guess those other people from Star Wars too. So go to audibletrial.com/CA Telecast and grab your free audiobook and help support the telecast. Greetings, travelers. My name is Nick Murphy.
And my name is Satchell Drakes.
And welcome to the Cinephilia Anonymous Telecast. We're going to take you on an interstellar adventure through the darkest corners of your mind to unlock your hidden passion for cinema.
Yep.
So this week we're discussing Zodiac. It's a 2007 film from directed by David Fincher.
Before we do, I have a very important question.
Yeah.
How was your weekend?
Fantastic, man. How was your weekend?
It was all right. It was chill.
You guys do anything?
Chill. I saw The Revenant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude.
What'd you think?
It was a treat to watch.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. There were so many enjoyable things about it. To unpack them all, I don't know what I'd be doing by doing it. Strong recommendation, dude. I think, the two biggest things that were really cool about it were one, the long single shots. It was amazing to see how long one shot could go on.
Yeah. So he carries that from Birdman into this. So he takes a lot of that into that. It's interesting.
And there's one thing to just keep in mind. I don't feel like this will spoil anything. Is just there's so much lens awareness.
Interesting.
I'm just gonna leave it at that. You're so aware of the lens in the film, and it's really kind of cool.
Interesting. So the peek behind the curtain. We're recording this before the possibility of a blizzard in the Northeast. Apparently, my plan is if we can get ourselves out to go and try and see it this weekend. So I'm very excited to see that.
Oh, heck yeah, dude. Well, by the way, watching the film is kind of like anticipating this blizzard.
Oh, really?
You just want to put your jacket on because it's so, viscerally cold all the time.
It's so nice that all these wintry movies are coming out because Rebecca and I went out with Paul and Jen and saw Hateful Eight again. And it's a very wintry movie, which is kind of made me cold in the theater just watching it again.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
What is you'll enjoy it, man. I think you will like it. Very dialogue heavy. I think you will. I think it's very much. I feel like it's like two things. It's a film, obviously, right?
Right.
But it has some aspects of a novel, maybe.
Okay.
And then it feels very theatrical too. So it feels like it could be adapted into a play and work just as well.
Oh, dude, I'll give that a shot.
Yeah. So cool. You go see that. I'll go see The Revenant, and let's touch base.
We'll trade notes. Yeah. Let me tell you, when I got back home.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put a hard cap on it. I will go see The Revenant. Do you want to talk about it next time, or should we wait?
Ooh, yeah. Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do that. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. So next week we'll do The Revenant. That'll be nice. Oh,
Boom.
Interesting. Movie's not. Oh, actually, I was it's the first time, and I was like, we did Star Wars. It's fine.
Yeah. After I saw The Revenant, I went back home, and it was 11. But for whatever reason, and I had work the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, I was so jazzed. But every time I watch a really good film, I get just so jazzed.
Yeah.
And, I get this feeling where the credits start rolling, and even if there's nothing going on during the credits or after the credits, I just want to stay in my seat just to be in that place.
Yeah.
I don't even want to. I do this weird thing where afterwards, it's sort of when you go to a movie with a group of people, it's just tradition that when you're done, all right, you all go outside, you find each other, you stand in a circle, and then you like talk, right? Like you start dishing. I don't like talking about it. I don't like talking about a good movie after the movie. For some reason, I don't know. I guess I don't want to like muddy the well, or like I don't even want to hear like other people's. I have to like sit on it for a while before I start hearing like knee-jerk reactions and stuff. It just muddies it for me.
No, totally. I feel the same way. I like to kind of like form my own thoughts. I feel like I'm very much influenced by other people and their take on it, because you know they'll see something that I didn't see, and then I'll start thinking about that. I want to like form my own opinion about it and then discuss. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I got back home and I got so inspired that I watched Birdman, because I was like, all right, I've had this in my iTunes library forever. I haven't watched it yet. Then I saw Little Miss Sunshine, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was amazing too.
That's so funny. Rebecca and I, we saw Little Miss Sunshine in the theaters, and our plan was to do a double feature, and we were going to go see, I don't remember the film. It was something that was out around the same time. And we saw Little Miss Sunshine, and we got out, and I was like, man, that was so good. That was so much what a great little movie. It was so much fun. It was very like uplifting for this, you know, this messed up family, but somehow they came through and they found each other. We just felt so good. I said to her, I was like, do you want to like skip that other movie and just kind of like enjoy this feeling? She's like, yeah, I don't think I could go see like another movie and go through the gambit of emotions again. I just want to like live on this for a bit.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That's such a great conversation you guys had.
Dude, it's so nuts.
Dude, you guys are cool as hell.
Thanks, man. So have you seen Little Miss Sunshine before?
I hadn't seen it before.
Oh, nice.
So it was, that was great. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Probably my favorite part is when the kid finds out he's colorblind, because as a color deficient person, I was like, what? It's so crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it's so fitting of just like what do you call it? I guess like the emotional height of it all. It was so like, it was just so emotionally intense for both of them, you know? Mm-hmm. And like Little Miss Sunshine has this thing where it like puts you on this brink with the tension between all the family members. Yeah. That you're just waiting, like, I'm just waiting for the tipping point, you know?
Yeah, you're waiting for them to fall apart, and because of their family structure, because of their connection to each other, they just never do. You're right. They always kind of teeter on that thing, and then it just becomes about we're family, and and
that's the release, and it ends in this like, you know, Modern Family, a TV show. It kind of ends in that sentiment that Modern Family ends with every season, where it's like, hey, we tried to hold it all together and we failed because we're all broken, so let's celebrate that. You know,
that's nice, man. I really like that feeling.
Yeah,
a lot.
It was cool. And then after that, I saw...
Dude, you have a cinematic adventure.
I know! It was so weird. I think this is going to be a thing now, where like every weekend I just watch a bunch of movies. Like, I saw Unfriended.
The like social network horror movie?
Yes.
Right? Oh man.
Look,
really?
look.
I'm not judging. I'm just
shut up.
I'm surprised that the turn.
I know. Taking. I'm like, this is so weird, but I need to watch this. I need to know what they did with this. And like, we're doing that movie. We're doing it. You're going to watch it, and we're going to talk about it.
All right. Yeah, I'm down for that, man. You want to make that one? Is that available? Is it on Blu-ray? Is that out on home video?
I don't even know if you need to watch it in high fidelity, but probably. Yeah, it's out. Let
me see. Let me see how much. Let me see if I can get this before the impending storm.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Let's see if we can one day Amazon deliver this. Yeah, dude. No, dude. It's like $15 too. All right. Next week, Unfriended, guys.
Well, no, not next week. It doesn't have to be so close. We could push that. We could push that out. We'll do The Revenant, and then we'll figure that out.
All right, anyway, we'll figure. All right,
yeah, so we'll figure it out.
I'll hold off on the order.
You can hold off for now. Yeah.
So you know that I collect movies and stuff. I don't know if I talked on this. Well, maybe I talked with you about it, or maybe we talked it on here. I can't remember. Every time we do this, it's such a blur.
I know.
There's this website called Blu-ray.com, and it's like it's a
very,
cinephile's dream.
very hidden site.
It's so good. You make an account, right? And then you're like, okay, this is a movie I want. And you can make like a wish list, and then you can make this price tracker thing where you're like, okay, I want this movie, but I don't want to spend more than $15 on it. So and it tracks, it tracks Best Buy, Amazon, eBay. And once the movie, for a new copy, not like a used copy or anything, once the movie falls below that thing, it sends you a notification, be like, hey, just so you know, this movie's $15 right now if you want to get it. It's my crack.
Oh my
it's
gosh,
my crack
you're
right
right.
now.
Wait, does this work for Whoa.
Yeah, it's nuts, man.
You even
Great
have
site.
iTunes data as well.
Yeah, it's so good.
This is awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
man. It's been like my super crack. Dude, that's an incredible journey, man. You know what I saw? I know we're talking about every other movie except the movie
No, it's fine.
we talk about.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Rebecca and I watched Spotlight. It's
Spotlight.
It's the film about the reporters from the Boston Globe reporting on the Catholic priests like molesting kids, like breaking that story.
Shoot, that's
man.
crazy.
It's great. Very good. Really well done. There's something really nice about movies about journalists, and I think it's really nice, especially journalists from that time, because it's very much, feet on the street, working a beat. Oh my god, I just rhymed that.
Oh my god. You just you dug a little bit into the ground and then just shoved your shovel a little bit,
and then I'll just like Lil Wayne and be like, "Ain't so neat." Just like hashtag rhyme it at the end. Jesus, oh my god. No, super good movie. The cast is amazing, man. Mark Ruffalo is unstoppable in this movie. He is very, very good. And even speaking of Birdman, Michael Keaton is great in it.
Dude, he's in it too?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
I gotta watch this.
Their boss. Yeah, it's really good. I think it might be slipping out of theaters, but I mean, it's kind of award season now, and it's up for a lot, so it might still be in some stuff. But
it's in the
definitely
theaters.
worth a check out. Yeah, definitely worth a check out. But speaking of Mark Ruffalo, actually, this week we're going to be discussing Zodiac. So you want to give us a quick little rundown of what Zodiac's about?
So Zodiac is a 2007 drama starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo, and Robert Downey Jr. And they're sort of on a criminal search for this serial killer who refers to himself as the Zodiac and is known for his murders throughout the San Francisco Bay Area. So he communicates with the police through letters and bloodstained clothing, and he taunts his victims with cryptic phone calls. And this is all allegedly based off of a book of the same title, which is based on a true string of events that took place in the 60s.
Yeah, man. Pretty nuts.
It's pretty nuts.
I was vaguely familiar with the Zodiac. I had heard about the Zodiac before, and I think I got it confused with Son of Sam, who was another killer, but I think Son of Sam was in New York. That's what I thought this was relating to him in some way. But yeah, so formatting wise, the film unfolds chronologically. There's no kind of jumps in time, which is I mean, there are jumps in time, but there's no back. We don't see any kind of recreation of the murder. What they think you see the murders happen in the film, and then the police and the reporters are trying to figure out who this suspect is, and how did you feel about the killings in general? So my first inclination for them was I was amazed at how visceral they were. Each one felt more realistic and raw and painful than the last one, and it made me feel helpless watching these people. I mean, I've seen horror movies, and I don't really connect to the victim in this, but for this one, in these ones, I especially the first couple of murders, I felt very much as helpless as these people did.
Yeah, so watching this film was interesting because I grew up watching martial arts films and stuff, watching violence all the time. And I'm mostly desensitized to like violence and blood and stuff, but for whatever reason, you know, it's not even like this film was like a slaughterhouse like the later Saws, you know?
Right.
But I was super squirmish.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
You know, it was weird too.
It could have been because it was kind of set up like a lamb led to the slaughter in a kind of way. But like, I just, it was like really hard to watch. I had my hand like, you know, you have your hand over your eye, well, you're like over your face, but not like, covering your eyes, and you're just like, at any moment.
Yeah. The killer, the killer is portrayed in this, like 80s horror, like Jason Voorhees kind of way. He is this kind of like, he is kind of a big guy, and he's just always like, you know, he's always shadowed. And I think that's kind of the you know, I think David Fincher purposefully did that because they never found him. They narrowed down suspects, but he was ultimately never caught and never, you know, proven to be the person that committed these murders. So I read online afterwards that I think there was 3 or 4 different actors that portrayed the Zodiac in the different killings. So you never got one actor
right
being
and they
the
kind
same.
of point that out in the film as well, that there's this difference.
And that there may have been 2 murderers and also
and like
some
also like
copycat. Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, what a strange time too. It when I see movies like this, I really appreciate what we have in this world technologically and the ease of communication. Like there's one part where Mark Ruffalo's character he plays a police officer. He gets a call over the radio, right? And they're like, you need to call on a landline. So he gets out of the car and goes to this police box, which I guess I was not aware of. I didn't know that they had these things where the police can tap into like a landline to connect to the station to get this call transferred.
Oh, right. That's right.
It was crazy. It was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. You can't just like call all of these things. I love that. And it just makes me like appreciate that kind of stuff. And there's also like,
it's weird. It's like the presence of, it's like when this movie came out, it was a period piece, but with all of the advancements in technology since then, like the accelerated ones, it's even more of a period piece. Yeah.
And I guess I never really, I mean, I think about cell phones in movies all the time. I think you can't help but that. I feel like every horror movie has to have the, we don't get any signal kind of thing. Because cell phones are so immediate. You can just, you know, reach out and connect to anybody. Yeah. I think when you set a movie in a time period before cell phones, it really, I think our generation and even generations, you know, past us are gonna feel so helpless. Like, I can't contact anybody. Like those 2 kids who are in the car, they're alone. It's just the 2 of them. There's no like to I wonder if to younger audience and like people further down the line, I wonder if they'll have that feeling of, I wonder if that adds to it. Like it's something that the director didn't do it. Yeah, it's just the sign of the times. They're just like, they can't call for anyone because there's no way to call anyone, you know?
Yeah.
And I felt like the killings,
or even your car breaking down on the side of the road, like that woman.
Like that woman.
It's just
oh my God.
My car's broken down. All right,
so sit and wait for a good Samaritan to come by to help you. Jeez, that's crazy. Yeah. And I felt like the killings, for as gruesome as they were, there was like a beauty to them. Like they were beautifully shot. Like I wrote down this note, beautifully horrific. You know, like nothing is glorified. There's no gore for the sense of the way, I don't know. I watched Hateful Eight, and there's a lot of violence in that, but I felt like that was purposeful and gory and glorified in a sense that it's a payoff. The violence in this wasn't like that at all. It felt, I don't know if it's just because I'm watching a lot of Hannibal, like that series about Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal is very much like that, where there's these horrific things that happen, but it's filmed and photographed in a beautiful way that makes you forget about that to make
Dexter.
Yeah, very much like Dexter, exactly. And some of these felt like that too. The murder in the car, there was all the slow motion with the blood spray coming off, and it just felt, it's horrific. Like the kid gets shot.
Yeah.
The blood sprays across him. There's something like beautiful about that shot. it's crazy. And then like each murder escalates from that. I felt like the murder with the couple at the lake, it was so off-putting, like the the guy, he was so sarcastic to the Zodiac,
Oh yeah,
he was
was like, oh my gosh.
He was.
The stabs
so
were
dismissive.
so like,
they were so.
I felt
raw.
each one.
Yeah,
and it wasn't even that gruesome.
No,
Like, oh my
there
gosh.
was no. I mean, you see her get stabbed, but it wasn't bloody. It wasn't anything past something you would see in like Psycho. It just I think it's the false sense. That scene kind of plays up and down where they're afraid, and then he's kind of snarky about it, and then
do you know what I think part of it could be? He never has a grand entrance or like an ominous entrance. He is just a guy in a park
that shows up. Yeah.
And like there are no shrieks or shrills or weird flashes or cuts when these people are getting murdered.
Yeah.
Like the camera, like in the beginning when that young woman is like getting shot, like the camera just lingers on her getting shot, and you just see holes being made in her body.
Yeah.
And like I remember like when I don't know, when someone fires a gun, like oftentimes like at a person in like close quarters, oftentimes like I don't think I've ever seen anything shot that way, where I just like see it happening in front of me, like documentary style,
and unfold. Like, I know exactly what you mean.
Usually there's like high action and a lot of cuts to sort of like explain to the viewer like something crazy is happening right now.
Yeah,
but when he stabs him in the park, there's no music, there's no. It's just happening in front of you, and it's like
it's so visceral, and I think it's incredibly off-putting because he's trying to comfort her, and he's like, it's fine, and then he just comes back. That's so rough. I think my favorite murder, if we were to say one,
your favorite.
It's just because of the scene. It's only because of the way the scene plays out.
Go on.
The cab driver scene is I think my favorite. So the Zodiac gets into the cab, and then there's this aerial shot of the cab looking straight down at the cab, and the cab starts to drive off, and it's like a video game. It's like Grand Theft Auto. Like the camera is attached to the cab as it's driving forward, and you're seeing down, and it's turning, and it's like locked off. It's a shot that would not have been able to be done without CG, but it's not. It's not grandstanding. It's not, sometimes David Fincher has this thing that he does. He's like, we're gonna go in through the vent and out, and he does it a lot.
Yeah.
But this is very much. It felt as if you were a ghost or like dead, and you're just hovering over this. It just felt this sense of like looming, like this like angel of death, just like watching this victim being ready to get murdered, basically. And then the cab stops, and he goes to pay, and he murders the cab driver, and you just see the scene unfold in like this wide shot. There's nothing in stark contrast to that first murder. It's just wide, and you're just an observer. It's so beautiful. I love it. That's like one of my favorite scenes.
Hell yeah.
So what did you think? The film tells you in the beginning that it's based on true events. At any point in the film, did you catch yourself like, did this really happen, or like question like the narrative part of it?
Not so much. I mean, I got the idea that this might have been based on a true story of like a serial killer, but then I also got, and from what I understand, I kind of fell down a click hole of like the making of this, and they were saying that like they spent 18 months researching like what actually happened so that they could represent that. In my head, I imagine like this is still like it's 2007, but in a lot of ways like film was still pre-internet in a sense that like what the internet had to say about like media overall was present but not moving mountains.
Right. It's present in the sense of
of RottenTomatoes.com existed, and some people heard about it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and even like researching the film, there's only real. I use that term in the kindest way possible. Real journalists.
You can't do that anymore, Nick. We can't do that anymore.
No, but the only things available about the Zodiac were written by real journalists who actually like did the work to do it. So it makes sense that is out there. Like there was no Zodiac subreddit, to try and put the pieces together or anything like that.
And because of that, like, I tend to just kind of believe like, okay, so in general, there probably was a Zodiac. In general, he probably murdered a series of people. In general, he probably sent letters. In general, he probably sent bloodstained clothing.
Right.
In general, there were probably like discussions amongst police officers or whatever. But like the detail, like all the granular details they get to in the narrative, I imagine they kind of like put their own creative spin on how that might have panned out.
Yeah.
Put their own creative spin on investigating, like, someone like not like dropping the case, picking up the case, dropping the case, feeling defeated. All the like personal like heart struggle things, I imagine they weren't documented, so there'd be no way to like figure that out. Like, I imagine that kind of stuff wasn't there. I guess the reason I bring up the pre-internet stuff is because I could totally see like if this film came out now, they would have had to have done their homework, and there would have been like some granular like outlines of things that happened. Like I think about Making a Murderer right now, and just how much people are tearing into this amazing documentary show,
right?
That like is amazing.
It's a cool
and people are
resurgence
still
of movies, or not movies, content like this.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about Serial before, and I think the appeal is people will consume the content, and then start to play detective. They'll kind of sit there and be like, oh, I could put the pieces together if I just think about it hard enough and do some internet sleuthing and all of that. So I think it's interesting that this movie it came out when it did. If it were to come out now, almost, I guess we're like 9 years later. If it were to come out now, you would probably see a resurgence in Zodiac, someone trying to like solve it,
And like 20 YouTube videos that are like, my gripes with the Zodiac. Things Zodiac got wrong.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. Are we really going to expose the Zodiac killer?
Yeah.
Oh my God. All of those clickbaity things.
There was in my I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
No, I was just making fun of clickbaity stuff. Like, is Star Wars a feminist film?
Right.
Is making a murderer actually true?
Right.
It's like all those clickbaity things remind me of that. I don't know. Like I want to say 2020, but 2020 is like maybe 60 minutes is probably better.
It would be cool to do a short film about if we had the internet like this in the 90s.
That'd be interesting.
Where it was just like different clips and snippets of how people tear apart like otherwise amazing things that we never questioned. Like,
you know what? I feel like this is the thought process behind FX is doing an O.J. Simpson not true crime. It's not a true crime kind of thing. It's not like they're looking at it, purely from things that happened. They're doing a dramatic reenactment of it. But I feel like they're trying to capitalize on stuff like that. It's highly contested, verdict and case and everything. So I think they're trying to get on that to maybe like reignite something like that. They're like, oh, well, all these murder drama things are really popular, and all of these, these big crazy cases, people are like eating those up, so we could do our own like that. Yeah. I wonder if that's like the thought process behind that. Yeah.
Huh. It would be cool. Yeah.
It would be really interesting.
That'd be like a cool challenge to the world to see how they react.
Oh man, that'd be really fascinating. Yeah.
In my quick research of because afterwards I kind of just looked up to just see like how people responded to the movie, what kind of conversations happened around it, and one conversation that was just like generally pretty interesting to me because I love tech is people were talking about how this film was shot digitally.
Yeah. On the Viper cam.
On a Viper film stream camera system.
Dude,
now,
the Viper was the hotness back in the day.
Really? Okay, talk to me, man. Because I saw this, I was like looking at the logo and also I was like, what is this?
Dude, it was, so it was one of the big cameras. So David Fincher's been a big proponent of digital everything, digital filmmaking in general.
Okay.
So the Viper Cam was one of the first digital cinema cameras. Before that, there have been a few. Panasonic made one called the Genesis, I believe. I think it was Panasonic Genesis. So the fact that you could shoot digitally was like a huge thing, and especially for David Fincher. I think it only shot in 1080p.
Yeah, so
camera.
I have the specs right here.
Oh, cool.
I found a scan of old instruction booklet and brochure.
Whoa.
So with three 9.2 million pixel frame. By the way, when we count why are we counting pixels as a selling point?
When at that point, everyone was trying to break through. There was like there was a pixel glass ceiling, and we couldn't get through it, man.
Transfer CCDs capturing 1920 by 1080. The film stream camera system delivers an RGB 444 10-bit log output, which is pretty amazing. I was not expecting that. So
it's pretty awesome.
Freaking recording raw and full RGB quality with no color subsampling. That's pretty super cool. And then they said the multiple format support. So it recorded 1080 at 24, 25p, and 30p, and then 720p at up to 60 frames per second. So you know what's crazy about that? Like when I read that, like I was like, it's so wild that like anyone who's like mildly enthusiastic and can like read a form for 5 minutes can just go out and just get a camera that does this now.
Yeah, that's
probably better and more efficiently than what they're using.
Dude,
like,
the extent to which we used to go through to emulate film cameras was insane. And now especially it's so much easier. So yeah, let me quote you. So I've been a subscriber to this trade magazine called American Cinematographer for the past almost 10 years at this point.
Tight.
And I have a 2007 article from it about Zodiac. Let me read you about Zodiac was captured with the Thomson Viper film stream high definition camera. It's 32-inch LCD monitor. Oh, watching through a 32 LCD.
I was like, that's a TV.
Yeah, I was like, damn, that's huge. Yeah, they were. Zimmer filmed all of his test footage, one version uncorrected, Technicolor digital intermediate. Dude, it's just crazy that and it was able to shoot raw too. Like it shot, and then they outputted raw. That's so crazy. For like that time, and I think they did 444, which is insane. Like most DSLRs now are only doing like 422, if that.
Yeah. Most of them are just doing 420.
Yeah. And it's so crazy, man. Yeah, I'll have to send
I'm
you.
loving the industrial design of this thing. It's like,
yeah.
Let me tell you, up until recently, like video cameras at large had just the strangest design.
Well, you know what it is, dude? They were all built off of that model of the film camera. You know?
I think that's what it is, and it was just sort of like, dude, these guys have different guts. They can be different. It's
really only until now that everything has kind of like turned into the way it is, the way we have it now, where you look at something like the Blackmagic pocket camera, which is basically an iPhone with a lens on it.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of
right. The
where we are right
insane.
now.
Dude, that records raw internally, right?
Yeah, it can do RAW. We shot.
That's insane.
We shot that Christmas thing. We shot on the Blackmagic thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah, dude, it looked great. It was a cool little camera.
That's cool.
But yeah, that was the crazy thing with like the Viper and the Genesis. The camera industry was so afraid of DPs not taking them seriously, not taking digital seriously, that they almost had to be like, look, guys, it's exactly like what you've been using. Look, we even made it look exactly like it. That was one of the selling points of the Genesis.
We even have a looping MP3 going through the internal speaker of a film reel spinning.
It would be like you're actually doing it. And we offset a little vibrating thing so it feels like it's running in your hands. But like part of the selling point for the Genesis, like I remember reading this, they were like the hard drive is set up like the mount, like a film mag, and sits on top of the camera or on back of the camera.
Right.
And it was like, guys, it doesn't have to do that.
Right.
You don't have to put it on the camera. You could put it somewhere else. You could put it on the floor. It doesn't have to put it inside of the camera. It's a hard drive, guys. Are you missing the whole point? They were trying to cater to those guys so much that they made these ridiculous decisions. And they still have that. I think Red still has. They call it Red Mags, and they're just like, I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. You would know. You're the Red. Yeah, they have Red Mags, but they're basically
they're shaped like a hard drive, right?
Yeah, they're like iPhone-sized little like cassettes, or not cassettes. That's slots that you put in there. They're basically SSDs that you put in.
Yeah.
But yeah, they still call them like mags. I mean, all of that stuff is never going to go away. I mean, dude, think about it. When you film something, when you film something,
right? That's it. Yeah.
You're making footage, which is feet of film.
Here's a question. I mean? Here, you tell me. Oh shoot! I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, man. That's
footage.
I used to call it footage. We're shooting so much footage.
That's what I love. Like they're like YouTube. One YouTubey thing for like YouTubers to do is like they talk about something that just happened, and then they like stop and stare at the camera, and they're like, "Roll the footage." And I always think it's funny that we do that because it's the most not roll the footage thing that is actually happening.
Yeah, the roll the footage is a cue to the director or producer to cue the VTR guy, the videotape recording guy, to hit play on the other tape machine.
Yeah.
It's just so funny. That's such a weird carryover. You know what is one I found? We have like a DVR. We never really had DVR before. I mean, we had it at my parents' house, and then Rebecca and I had it for a bit, and we recently just got like another cable thing with it. But from those days, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm taping it. Don't worry."
Right.
And I'm like, "What? That's so stupid. That's from like setting up a VCR,
right?
And
yeah,
clocking it like that. It doesn't make any sense."
Yeah. Another thing. Oh, dude, we were talking about this at work. So people don't know, I work at a creative agency. We do web design stuff and like app design stuff. And like we were working on this app and we were looking at it, and you know, we were working through save icons, and I was just working on a couple different save icons.
Oh my god, are you gonna talk about the floppy disk?
Yeah, and I was like, we found a floppy disk in the design, and we were like, you know, there's a whole generation of people that exist right now that aren't going to know what that means. Like, for save, we have to use like a download icon or something. There's no...
Yeah, it's so crazy. Isn't that like...
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. You have a save icon, even on your phone. You have... Your phone icon is a phone, like a handheld receiver.
Yeah, that's like the only thing that stayed, I think.
Yeah, it's so
having
crazy.
That. I wonder if for some people they're like, what is that?
Yeah, like I wonder if that...
You know what I mean? Because even the cordless phones don't look like that.
Yeah.
They're just bricks. They look like
bricks, yeah.
They look like the Nokia candy bars.
Yeah. It's so crazy. So for my kid, my mother-in-law bought him an old like a rotary phone toy. You know, we all probably had it. It had like the rotary, and it's got like eyes on it.
Yeah, my grandma had
wheels.
One.
Yeah, exactly. So I love it because it's so like retro, but it's a phone, and I was like, I wonder if he like knows it. So I like pick it up, and I'm like, hello, and he like did it. I was like, oh, okay, cool. He gets it. He'll never see that before again in his life, but he understands it. That's good. It's so weird. So weird, man.
I do have a question around the whole terminology of things. Mm-hmm. What do you call yourself, and have you ever thought about it? Like, some people are like, I'm a videographer. Some people are like, I'm a filmmaker. Some people are like, being a filmmaker seems weird because I'm not in it like that, but I make videos, or
Yeah, you know what? I struggled with it for a long time. I never used to say like artist because I felt that sounded like really pretentious. And then I went to art school and I was like, yeah, I guess I am an artist, and I guess I do make art, and that's that. Yeah. And then when people call me, when people are like, like at work when I'm filming something, or like my boss, and he'd be like, oh, this is our full-time videographer, and I'm like, just ring is wrong in my head. I was like, I feel like a videographer. I'm gonna say this, and I don't mean it with any kind of.
You're talking about weddings, right?
Negativity. Yeah, I feel like a wedding videographer. That's kind of, and like I've shot my fair share of weddings, and I actually shot one like 2 years ago or a year ago. But like I feel like that's associated with that. I'm like, I do so much more than that, and like even in my head, I'm like, it sounds so snarky, but like because like wedding videographers do like a million times. They do everything I do and more and quicker. It's just such a weird thing. Like I don't know why that term sits weird with me.
Yeah,
and even like I used to feel weird about saying producer because it just sounds like Hollywood dude on the phone. So I just say like video producer. That's just kind of like what I've been.
Oh, okay, cool. With. That's exactly where I landed. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
then if you say like oh, I'm a content producer, people are like, what the hell's content? I don't even know what that is.
Right. Even for me, it sounds like it's undermining what it is. Like, because I think the moment I hear content creator or like creating content, I think like 10 ways you can improve content creation habits for upload schedules, or like here's a seminar on the best content. Well, like content just means like stuff that gets ad revenue at that point when you like.
Yeah,
but I started with videographer because in my head I was like, oh, like for a while I was like a photographer. I guess I never really stopped. I just don't do it as much. But like I was a photographer. I was like, oh, photographer, videographer. Like I guess that's what it is. And then like I guess I started getting more interested in narrative driven things, or I don't know. I guess like I just started watching more videos from like peers and thinking like, oh, this is a cool thing to take seriously. And then it was like, okay, so I guess filmmaker. But then I put it on like my splash page site, like, oh, filmmaker, and it felt like a lie.
Yeah,
I felt like an imposter. I was like, filmmaker, nah. If you click on that and you look at the stuff that's there, those aren't films.
No,
you know what I mean?
Dude. But I felt like that too. Like I put filmmaker on my stuff early on. When I was just like a student filmmaker, I was like, I am a filmmaker, and I think that I don't know, man. You and I are a special breed. I feel like you and I are Renaissance men, and I think any title that we decide on and choose is really like a pale summation of what we actually do. So it's kind of hard to like nail down what it is. So I feel that was
amazing.
Dude, you make great things. You make great films, you do great graphic design, you do great photography, you do great videos, you do great everything, man. So to say that one of these things nails you, it doesn't make any sense. And for you to feel that one of them is a lie, it's like, dude, you do it all and you do great. You're a filmmaker, man. You're telling stories. The minute you start putting images together and cutting and filming, photographing them and then editing them together to elicit a response from a viewer or an audience, you're a filmmaker. You're telling stories through a visual medium, a moving picture visual medium. A filmmaker.
That's cool. I like that definition.
Yeah.
Also,
storyteller would be interesting. That'd be an interesting. Be like, I'm a visual storyteller. Then it just sounds like high art kind of thing, and then you have to explain
storyteller. Oh no, I hate that. I hate storyteller. Yeah. That also makes me think of seminars and like webinars.
Yeah.
Storyteller, I'm not about that. Because storytellers are the same people that in their Twitter profiles they say like corporate ninja and stuff. Like,
yeah.
They're like
totally.
Yeah. Storyteller.
I'm a LinkedIn purveyor.
Yeah, I like that whole.
Yeah. No, dude, you're a super filmmaker, man. Don't
I'm
feel
a super
that,
filmmaker now.
Yeah,
every
don't
time.
feel
the encouragement gets stronger every time. This is the part of
Don't underplay your achievements, man. Don't let anybody judge what you do, man. There's no reason for that. I mean, like okay, so I'm gonna like let me look at Let me look at my webpage. I haven't updated it in forever. So I look at my thing. I said about me, I am director, producer, editor. Those things are true.
Correct. Those are all true.
Yeah. But like, I used to have cinematographer on there. I think it's always going to be changing. I used to have cinematographer on my business card. I got rid of that because that part doesn't interest me as much. And the producer, editor, I think the director, producer, editor, I think that's perfect for me. Filmmaker, it's always weird when you're like, I'm a filmmaker, because immediately whatever you say that you are, people are just like, oh, well, that's how he makes his money. He does that. But I think for you and I, it's not like that. We have regular jobs, we have regular careers, but that
right.
For
it feels
some
weird
people
coming out the gate with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people that like their job and their career like might define them and define what they are and who they are. But I don't think that applies for what you and I.
Yeah.
It's just like when it's like video producer is like all encompassing. Do you
know what? Like storyteller, like this is gonna sound weird. The technology behind the word storyteller actually makes sense.
Right.
Like because for me, I'm really not trying to sound pretentious at all. Like I'm not. Like it's like I live my life and there are these different things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are really interesting, and like sometimes you want to react to it or you want to like focus on it or whatever, and like it's like, oh, I want to make something about this thing that's really interesting right now, you know? And I guess in my head it can be like, oh, I'll do a series of photos, or I'll do a video, or I'll write a song, or like a blog or whatever. Like it could be anything. It's the same thing for anybody. Like anyone can decide to do that with that. And for me, I don't necessarily feel, and I think for a lot of people, like they don't necessarily feel like, oh, but I'm a designer, so I'll just make a logo about it. You know what I mean? Like they're just going to find the most compelling way to them to convey whatever idea is in their head. You know what I mean? Like, there's no, so it makes sense. And like, that's why I feel like what you're saying makes a lot of sense too, because it's like, yes, these are the things that I do in order to point to the bigger thing that I actually care about. And that's like the subject of whatever you're making your film about, or like your photo. Does that make any sense?
Totally, man.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Dude, to have one, there are many people who do something and they're very specialized and they do one thing and they do one thing great. And I feel like for someone like that, boom, give yourself that title and that's what you do and that's who you are.
Right.
But for someone like you, man, you have a lot of creative options, man. You're good at a lot of stuff. I'm not saying that you're great at a lot of stuff, Satchel, but you're...
Well, I'm not. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, dude. Definitely not.
Dude, you are
we can have a separate
ninja.
We can have a... I'm really a beginner, but what's interesting is like what perspective does and what relativity does. We could have... It could be a separate podcast about just like that thing that happens when like, for anyone listening, if you're a designer and you go to dribble.com or you make videos and you're a filmmaker and you go to vimeo.com, or you're a photographer and flickr.com, it's kind of, it's all right. But you go to these like, seemingly, well, for Dribble, it's invitation only, but like, so I guess behance.com. You go to these like almost invitation only sites and you see what the world has to offer, and you see everyone is like your age or younger than you. Yeah. And like, it's just interesting how like, depending on your posture when you're watching it, like some people can watch and say, wow, that was amazing, I applaud that, and then go to sleep. And then some people are like, some people, you know, they're strong, they're confident, they're thoughtful. But in their thoughtfulness, they're also like, man, what have I been doing my whole life? Like, this guy fit that? That's crazy. Like,
so many people have that. I was listening to that Aziz Ansari book, and he covers it in that. And he also talks about it on his Netflix show, that this generation that we're in is so afraid of making the wrong move, making a choice that is not the best choice, you know?
Right.
That's why we have Yelp, and we want to make sure that we're eating the best food all the time. We want to make sure that we're using our time in the most efficient way and best way for us possible. And that's what people like that, when you start to like think about yourself like that, and you start to think about your work like that, it drives you crazy, because so many people make content, and so many people expose their content to other people, and it's available in these hubs for consumption at this point. And it's just so easy to get stuck in there and be like, wow, this guy puts out like 3 videos a day. What the hell have I been doing? And you feel inadequate, but you can't. Like I felt like that for a bit. And so there's 2 ways to go about it. You can see that and just be like, well, okay, let me just take this and take that from that. And I like what this guy did. Now, when I finally do it, I will do this. And when I finally get to that, I'll implement this and we'll finally do that.
Right.
So there's that mentality. There's the guy on the other side's mentality who's just like, I just need to make things as fast as I can to get it out of my brain and put it out there, you know? So some happy medium. I'm not saying either one is wrong. And I'm sure the guy who calculates, will make a great film one day, right? But there's a good chance that he won't. And there's that guy who's making stuff every day. Sometimes it's about quality and not quantity. So if you can find some happy medium between those two, I think you can make great stuff and feel good about yourself. And I think that's what we all want at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. There was. Did you ever get to see that? My favorite part of the Golden Globes was Jim Carrey's little speech.
Yeah, that was great.
Like, that was so good, because it's so just nice. Like, there's this weird like chase, that like you can trick yourself into thinking is like a good idea. Yeah, and I don't know. I just thought he handled it.
Yeah, it's really so good. I like watching award shows. I know people find them.
I do too. I like the spectacle of them. Yeah, in a kind of way.
I know people get like, oh, we're just giving famous people more awards so they can feel good about themselves. It's like, no, man. There's something. If you take away the celebrity and take away like the e-coverage of it, these guys are artists too, and sometimes it's nice for artists to get together and pat themselves on the back, and pat each other on the back. I think that's what it's. Patting yourself on the back doesn't sound right. Patting each other on the back, I think, sounds really good to encourage what they do. That's a world we ultimately want to be a part of. It's our great big granddad that we want to like get to be at some point.
I don't know if a perfect world is like everyone being hyper self-deprecating all the time to everything that they do. Because at a certain point it's like, okay, like you published this because you wanted other people to react to it. Like, not necessarily in like this like super selfish narcissistic way, but like you wanted to say something. And part of you wanting to say something is like other people hearing it, and there's something about that that's
I think when you're an artist and when you're making things, I think ultimately that's what you want. You want to be accepted. You want you want to hear about it, man. I get so wrapped up in my stuff. Like I have a hard time like clicking the send button, to publish. I get so wrapped up in like what are people going to say? What are people going to dig? What are they going to hate? I get so like wrapped up in my mind. I mean, today we just sent our web series out to the backers who kickstarted us, and I've been stressing about it all day. I've been like really refining everything, just making sure everything is perfect. I want to make that first impression good. I want to make sure that people see it. So, I'm just like hovering over the publish or hovering over the send button, and just checking and double checking everything, and then terrified of the response, right? But then once you finally click it, have you seen The Social Network? Yeah. So there's a moment where Mark Zuckerberg has it and he's like, I just need to click this button. And then he clicks it and it's just this, you see him deflate, and not in a bad way. It's just like, all that stress. Yeah. It's gone. And that's how I feel right now. It was like so much tension built up and then send, and it's like, okay, it's out there. I can't reel it back in at this point, Yeah. And I think that's something every artist struggles with. Is
oh my gosh, yeah, dude, you had a real moment of truth.
It's terrifying, man.
We're reporting live,
dude. It's a scary thing, man. I mean, you got to feel that way. You got to feel like right before, you put something out, it's like, how are people going to, as you're making it, you're constantly questioning how an audience is going to interpret what you've done. You hope that you've done a good job of conveying everything that needs to be conveyed. And
I think my biggest bugaboo is communication.
Yeah. I don't think that's a problem for you at all, Satchel. Your thoughts are extremely well communicated in everything you make.
Dude, thanks, man. Dude, you're just why you gotta make me blush?
Man, you ain't gotta blush. Dude, you don't have to blush at all, dude. Dude, let's talk about you for a second. So
no, please, let's not do
real
that.
Quick.
That sounds like a bad idea.
I have you here. I want to pick your brain real quick.
You always have me here.
No, man. So you put out a review for this game called That Dragon Cancer. Yeah. Super powerful game, and you got a great response from it, man. Anybody, like, were you ever afraid? So the basis of the game is it was made by a husband and wife couple who lost their child to was it brain cancer?
Yeah.
So they took that and created a game about their struggle, their adventure is not the right word. I'm trying to think of a more somber word for adventure, but you get the idea. I mean, you tackled it and you broke that game down in an incredible way, and you I think you gave such justice to that game. I mean, were you afraid at all of anyone's, like, not afraid, that's not the right word either, but were you concerned about people's response to it or anything like that, about the way, your video and everything?
Yeah. I was most worried. I kept thinking when I shared it, and for that it was like this now or never thing, because like Ryan had shared the guy he had we had become good friends over the past couple of years that he had been making it.
Wait, and, like, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I had no idea. That's incredible. And
he sent me an early build. It was like, oh yeah, like if you could have something out by embargo, that would be great. So like that I think it was like Sunday or whatever, or Monday that it went out. It was like, all right, I had to go up then. And it was one of those things where I had enough time to get everything done. Honestly, I would have sent him an email if like, I couldn't have done it exactly how I needed to, because from the moment I like played that game at PAX and like my eyes started sweating, like I was like, whenever it comes time to talk about this, I want to give my all to it. And I want to put like all of my, I want to be able to like synthesize all my thoughts in the best way and like share it in a way that's understandable. And that's going to be like my challenge to myself. Like I think it's probably a good practice to do. And like, I know a lot of the artists that I look up to like do it this way, like where every time they make a new thing or they make a new video, they do one new thing that like they're scared of or they're worried about, so that they can get better at it. And I think for me, it was, communicating a lot of ideas that we don't have in like everyday conversation. And I was most worried about, I kept thinking about, I didn't want to disrespect the people who worked on it. So I kept thinking about their faces, like uploading it, like what their reaction was going to be to it.
Interesting.
And honestly, no one there has responded to it. I actually still don't know, but like they shared it, which so I was like, okay, so I didn't completely like part of it was just like, I really wanted to like do good by them for some reason. Like, because it was really important to me and I wanted to make sure that for sure got through, that I really did care about it. And then also I think I tackled a lot of like theology oriented stuff, like theistic stuff. And I know that the internet the louder voice of the internet tends to skew more towards not having conversations, like not having theological conversations or outright ridiculing theological conversations. But because Ryan and Amy are like people of faith, like that's like a crux of their journey, and I wanted to be able to speak to all of the kind of like amazing and redeeming qualities about how personal they were with that, and the unanswerable questions in that, and I was happy to find out that people like latched onto that and they were like cool with it, and it wasn't that the conversations around it didn't devolve to this like
Right.
Neanderthal standoff of like who can police whoever's like
Yeah.
background and stuff. So
Yeah.
so it was that part was really cool. But yeah, I was worried about it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's always scary to do that, and especially with like the tone, not the tones, the some of the themes that the game covers. I can imagine, like you were saying, the internet is not always like the friendliest places for anything sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
and to put that out there, I think it's awesome, man. That's good. It's crazy, dude. You live
in an interesting time.
Yeah, it really is.
It's weird to say, oh man, yeah, we should just. Wouldn't it be awesome if we just got rid of it and we could just appreciate things for how they were? But if we did, then we would never be able to grow and share the things that we like in such a way that reaches like a lot of people to have more conversations and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is. The internet has kind of become the great leveler in that sense, and like kind of opened like the floodgates, and now like it's accessible to
I have a question for you.
Sure.
What do you think about critics?
It depends. It's really funny. Paul and Dom were talking about this today. I think what a critic does has kind of changed in my lifetime. When I was getting into movies, there really wasn't, the internet was around. It was kind of like infantile. There wasn't like an aggregator of reviews to kind of put anything drastic together. It was the way I always kind of did critics and made my choices was based on critics that I aligned with. It was like, oh, that person has similar taste in what I do. I like his taste in movies. He likes the movies that I like. He says this movie is pretty good. That means I probably will enjoy it, so I will go see it and I will check it out. Now, what's kind of happened is a very strange thing. I mean, we can talk about game critics. We could talk about movie critics. They're both kind of on the same path because of the internet now. Everyone is a critic, and before, there was, in my neck of the woods, it was, okay, the Philadelphia Inquirer, there's the Daily News, there's the New York Times, there's the Chicago Tribune, and those were kind of like what do those critics say to that? Those were like my go-to kind of ones.
Yeah.
And now with the internet, there's so many more options and so many more. It's just too much.
Yeah.
too much critics.
Too many things,
you need an aggregator for that, and I get the purpose of an IMDb rating or a Rotten Tomatoes rating or a Metacritic rating. I get it. I just don't think that should be the end all be all of that. I think assigning a grade, I don't think that's appropriate. And even like a star system, I get this
strange.
It kind of works. I get this like bad taste in my mouth when I start looking at them, and you can't help but, you look at it as if you were like a student still, and you're a classmate. It's like, well, my paper got an 85, and this guy got a 90. What did he do that made his so much better than mine? Like, what? You can't help but like compare other works to each other, and then it kind of becomes unfair. You're using unfair grading principles against something that doesn't apply to that. So, I mean, if you look at like the IMDb like top 250, it's just like it's a mess. It's a lot of hype for whatever movie's out right now, and then it's the masses who are picking like their favorite director and kind of just bumping that person to the top, and this person can like do no wrong. Like right now, it's Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan's a great, super talented filmmaker. I'm not saying that he's bad or anything like that, or he's the worst. Is he the greatest filmmaker of our time? It may not be for me to say. I mean, I might feel that way one day after watching, Interstellar. I might feel a different way after watching.
And is this even the right way to feel about anyone?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I feel, speaking super candidly, I feel like the game journalism and the game critic mentality is just even crazier than the movie stuff. As far as I know, I don't think that there's... I don't think the movie companies have any kind of like leverage over movie critics or anything like that. Usually they invite these people to the screenings and they give what they give, and that's kind of it. And if you don't go to a press screening, then you go see it on opening day and you put your review out, and that's that. I don't think the movie company, the movie company isn't going to put an embargo on you can't write about this movie. That's what I don't understand. The embargo baffles me. You can't say anything about this until the date we tell you can say something about this. It's like, well, you've already shown it to me. As a reporter, you've given me information. It's my job to serve the people and report this information.
Right.
You are not in control of this.
Right. It's like who's that's married crazy. To who's yeah.
And the gaming critic, the gaming journalism, it's a mess. It's if your game isn't, how many AAA title games come out that are going to get like a 95? You're telling me that every one of those games is as good as the other one?
Yeah.
You're telling me that the game that gets an 80, which is a B, like a pretty good thing, is like a failing grade? Their scale has gotten so top heavy. It just doesn't. It's not a great way to regulate and rule the medium.
Yeah.
And I feel like with
I wonder if it's because. Wait, what? No, go ahead.
No, I think I know where you're going with, like, it's like how do you grade a game like that Dragon Cancer? How do you? I'm gonna give it a 9.5 on Metacritic, or
it's like
two smiling guys and a screaming guy in GamePro. It doesn't make any sense, man. That doesn't.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
It's strange.
It's very strange.
And even with movies, I get this weird allergic reaction where it's like, did you see Sisters? Or no, let me pick something more groundbreaking. Did you see
Sisters is probably a good example. I'm sure that it probably didn't do well.
It'll sound more annoying if it's something deep. Did you see name something?
Okay.
Did you see no, I don't want to pick Tarantino. Man, I hate that guy right now. What?
Oh, really?
Let me I don't know. Did you see Titanic? I don't know why that came to mind. Maybe Christopher. I don't know why it came to mind.
Possibly the biggest movie of all time.
Yeah. And then someone's like, but I don't know. It got like an 85 on Rotten Tomatoes. There's this thing that got 90 on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's like, what is that?
Yeah.
What does that mean? That conversation happens. Like, I don't want to overreact to this because I get it. I get that it's a thing that exists in the world and people are busy and they just need someone to be an oracle for them. Like, I get that. All right, it's fine. But like,
I think
that's
two different things. I think that what you're talking about. I'm a firm believer in curation. I think that people need. There's so many things out there that people need. They need a guiding light to good content. They need someone to.
Right.
They need someone to vouch for content. You need someone to be like, hey, this is good. Check it out.
Right.
And then based on whether your tastes align with that person, then you'd be like, okay, I'm going to check that out.
Right.
I like your recommendation. Paul does it all the time. Paul listens to, he listens to Spotify, listens to all these different, so he's exposed to all kinds of music. Paul is like my music curator. He filters out. I don't need to listen to that much music. Paul is just like, hey, I think you'd like this. And I'm like, okay. Paul knows me. He knows my taste. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah.
So I think if there's some kind of system like with that, You know, I do like the critic like kind of top 10 list at the end of the year. I always find that that's a good barometer for me.
That's cool. You know what I don't? Movie phone. Have you ever?
What do they do?
It's like, it's this thing. It's on Z100 where like, but it's a real thing. Mm-hmm. But it's literally like, and here's Movie Phone's 10-second review. And it's like, lots of guns, lots of blood. That was kind of weird, kind of strange. Don't see it. It's like, and it's like a game. Like, it's impressive.
Yeah.
That it's impressive that you could be that reductionistic and there's a really scathing word I want to use that I can't think of right now. So everyone think about the most scathing word that you can.
No, totally, man. It's you're going to take, like, to extrapolate what it's a miracle that any movie gets made. There's the chance of failure and failure to launch is so astronomical every time. Somehow these movies get made, and then somehow they get distributed, and somehow you get to hear about it, and somehow you watch it, and then it's just crap. It's so that's almost like enough to make me like not ever want to make a feature. I would never like be like, oh, someone might think it's crap. I'd never do it. I would love to do, I would love to do that. But the work and the passion, it's enough to be like, God, come on, man. Like, take something positive from it, please.
Right. Yeah. Like, try.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in,
I know you are one of the most positive people I know.
Good for you, not for me. Good, you check it out.
You find the most just for the people listening. On the few times that Nick and I meet up and I come to him with sour news, or I'm disgruntled about something, he is like on point with the bright side right away.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Right away.
I try. Yeah, man, it's like I was reading I think I have one or two reviews of That Cancer Dragon came across my internet path.
Your internet desk?
Yeah. Reporting live at the internet desk. I'm Phil Gregory at the internet desk. Drop some NPR knowledge on people.
Oh, dude, we should totally do like an
NPR style.
An NPR style kind of podcast.
And I'm Dave Davies with the news. Yo, love me some Terry Gross though. But yeah, like one thing I read, it was a Steam review, so that in itself, that speaks volumes already for what it is. It's.
Oh no! I'm so sorry.
No,
the
but
Steam reviews are they were the worst for that game. Like,
yeah,
people are so strange.
People are so angry. They're like, oh, I can't believe that you would, turn this tragedy into a way to make money.
Right.
It's like, dude, why would that thought ever cross those people's minds?
Yeah, it's that thing where it's so beyond like my natural. I just don't know how to meet folks there. I don't think that I'm better. I feel like I found like an alien being, and I'm like, I want to know. I want to know how you think. How do you think the world works? Like, I'm fascinated. Yeah. Like, so are you mad at everyone who's written an autobiography ever? Because that's what this is.
Are you mad at every person who's ever written a sad song? Like,
yeah, like
they're taking something that happens in their lives and channeling it into something. Yeah. And the gaming community is so weird because they just assume it's just these two people and they're just like they're toiling at it. It's like, no, I'm sure there was other people working on it, and for them they can't grasp that. They're just like, so they shared their awful experience with all these people. It's like, yeah, man, anyone who has ever made anything is doing that. Like, anyone who's made a film like that, like I want to see that movie Room about, with starring Brie Larson, and she's like trapped in the room with her kid and like held against her will.
Yeah.
It's like nobody you don't have to make happy things all the time. You know, sometimes it's okay to make sad things. It's by feeling sad that you can start to appreciate what you have, and sometimes it's not. It's just a nice, you know, smelling salt under the nose to just be like, yeah, wow, it's awful. Yeah. I don't want to go through that, and here's how I can be better about my life. You know?
Yeah.
Man, so crazy.
It's really crazy. I mean, and it's sort of like, I'm not going to let the gaming community off the hook because it's so acutely cynical, but like
it's a mess.
But it's sort of like the people who criticize, like, you know, is David Bowie getting 9s and 10s because he died? And it's like, well, for the same reason that Selena Gomez or Taylor Swift is getting 9s and 10s for being broken up with. Like,
right.
His album was about death in the same way that, like, their albums were about, like, getting out of a relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's different when someone writes about death and they die, like, it does have a really unique impact on how people think about it, because he was writing it as he was dying. You know? Like, he knew he was going to die. And there's something really interesting about like,
it's
where we go with, like, it's like, man, just enjoy a good thing. Someone made it good. Enjoy it.
Yeah, man.
Like,
it's okay. It's all right.
Anyway, we've been going. So Zodiac was great.
I know, right? We kind of got off on a tangent. I know I say it all the time, man. I think that's my favorite thing about our podcast.
Yeah, me too.
You know, it comes from like a place of love, and it's about movies. I love movies, and then it turns into like a creativity dissection. Man, I love it. I love doing this podcast. It's so much fun. I just love being real about that, dude. Man, all right. Next panel, the next time we're at a convention together, we should do it like a creativity panel and just talk about.
Dude,
I would love to hear. You know, like, I'm familiar with you. You're familiar with me. I still love hearing how you work and stuff like that. I would just love to, you know, turn it on the audience and hear about what makes them creative, what makes them want to be creative, how they handle creative roadblocks and stuff. Man, Paul told me about this creative roadblock getter around her. We were talking about David Bowie, and he's like, oh, he worked with Brian Eno on this. He explained it like flat. I don't remember the name of them. I'm sorry about that. But they're like creative flashcards that they would pull out this like deck of cards and start going through. They're like questions to like spur inspiration and kind of work around problems and stuff. And he's like, I'm going to order a set for us. I was like, dude, that'd be great, man. I would love any kind of like exercise to try to get through those creative things. Because for me, when I feel like creatively stifled, I'm like, okay, I just got to get away. I got to turn things off and just got to like zone out.
Yeah,
I got to like drive or like take a shower or like just be in my head for a second, you know? So like anything that helps get around. So like I want to hear from other people and hear how they do it, so I can, you know, take those techniques and maybe share some with other people and stuff. So food for thought next time, Satchel.
Hell yeah.
It'd be awesome.
Dude, I'm down for that.
But yeah, Zodiac's one of my favorite movies. So good.
Yeah, it was a good
one thing I really liked about this movie is they edited it on Final Cut, which is pretty sweet.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, dude.
I dig that.
One of the few films edited on Final Cut. I think that number keeps kind of dwindling as the years go on.
Wait, really? Final Cut wasn't... People didn't use Final Cut that much? Like Final Cut 7 that much?
Yeah, Final Cut 7 was pretty low on like there was
everyone using Avid?
Yeah, Avid's kind of like the
I know, like, all of my friends who are, like, in, like, older television or whatever, they're, or rather television where there's, like, a lot of old heads, like, they're using Avid.
Yeah.
And then other friends who are using...
Yeah, they're all kind of, like, stuck in that, you know, because the Avid costs, like, so much that...
Sure.
Yeah, they, like, are stuck using that stuff because of how much no one wants, like, upgrade to it. Yeah, you know, I'm looking at this list, looks like Focus this year.
Focus was on X. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was on X, which is kind of...
And then Coen Brothers, Inside Llewyn Davis. Yeah, David Fincher still, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Social Network. But for Gone Girl, I think he switched to...
Oh, Social Network was Final Cut?
Yeah, yeah.
Really? Cool.
Yeah, True Grit. Yeah, interesting stuff. So why don't we wrap up for today? Super great talk. Loved.
Always good talking with you.
Yeah, man, totally. I one thing I really like about Zodiac is to kind of wrap it up and to wrap the movie up is the film just ends on kind of a down beat. You know, I think in reflecting the way the case did, it just kind of fizzles. And I know people might have like an issue with, for Zodiac's kind of a long movie, and for it to not have a big payoff, I think maybe made some people mad or maybe just like frustrates them. But like, I thought that was a great touch for it to kind of just like fade. You know, they have some ideas, like a whole bunch of time starts, you know, from when these murders begin happening, they're very like close together. And then time starts to like separate out. I think the whole movie spans like 31 years or something.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get it. Especially with those flashes.
Mm-hmm. So for it to kind of just be like, we don't really know, and it kind of faded, and you know, you see some of the characters kind of fade in that same way, and then it just kind of ends on speculation because the whole case kind of ended on speculation. I thought that was like a great touch, filmmaker wise.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, even when they're interrogating the guy that they think is the Zodiac, Lee, I think his name was. There's some filmmaking stuff that David Fincher could have done that would have, I think, less talented. That's not the right word. A younger filmmaker may have been like, "This is important. Pay attention." You know, like when he takes a look at the watch that he has, you know, and he flips it over. It could have been like a, moment where they're like focusing in on the Zodiac thing, but it's very subtle. You know, it's very kind of okay. I think we have some information. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting. Well, cool. So, what are we doing next week? Next time?
So I guess we're doing The Revenant.
The Revenant. Yeah. All right.
And then we should do... I was talking with Ace.
Yeah.
The Life Aquatic?
I would love it.
Okay, cool.
It's perfect. Super appropriate. All right, cool. So we'll do The Revenant, and we'll have another guest for everyone.
Yeah. And then Unfriended.
Let's do.
We're just gonna watch. Because we just keep watching hard hitting films, and then we're just gonna like drop everything.
You know what?
This is what we talked about when we said we were gonna start this podcast. We were gonna watch the shitty ones and try to redeem them.
You know what?
That's a good challenge.
Here's my proposal for that. Okay. So. You and I are very positive guys. There's nobody I know who is more positive than Gerard. So maybe we could do Unfriended with Gerard.
Yes.
Because I think he'd be a guy who'd be like, I actually think that's pretty good.
Yeah. Let's do that.
All right. That sounds like a plan. We just mapped out the next month or two, guys.
Yeah, I know. Cool.
All right,
business talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Business
Thank
Anonymous.
you as always for coming along with us, guys. We really appreciate it. And we had a great time. We hope you did too.
Peace.
See ya. The Cinephilia Anonymous telecast is produced by Satchell Drakes and Nick Murphy. Music by Mark Junker. You can hear more of his music at junker.ca. That's junker.ca. You can follow the telecast on Twitter at CA Telecast, subscribe on YouTube at CA Telecast, subscribe on iTunes, and check out our website, catelecast.com.